Hi, I'm Janet from Purple Dragon Co-op, and this is Trina Paulus, famous author of Hope for the Flowers, available in many languages. Trina is going to teach us about how to raise monarch butterflies at home, and so I leave you, Trina.
Thank you, Janet. I'm so happy to be able to be doing this because this is something I've been doing for maybe 20 years now when they come by. I'm so glad to have the chance to talk about monarch butterflies today. I just love the subject. I really have fallen in love with these wonderful creatures and their mysterious and amazing flight to Mexico, where one little butterfly in the fall flies 3,000 miles to the south of Mexico, to Michoacan, and then lives about 5 months there, then starts to come back and doesn't get much further than Texas, where the butterfly mates and has the first batch of eggs. And from the egg to the butterfly is a typical 28 days, sometimes shorter if it's very hot, sometimes longer if it's very cold. And so I have found that one can raise them in one's house quite well. And the reason to raise them in one's house is I've had a very interesting experience once. When I first started with this, I had very little milkweed, so I would take my scissors and I would cut out an egg out of a leaf, out of a milkweed leaf, and so I'd have just a little piece of eggs, and I would put it in a dish. And then it got very dark one night, and I was doing this, and it takes a while to cut those little sections out. So I then went to put yarn, white yarn, so I could see it over each leaf before it got too dark for me to see it. So I put down 35 yarns. The next morning when it was light enough, I went to find them. And out of 35 eggs that I had seen the night before, only 5 were left. That means overnight, 30 became the meal of some teeny weeny little spider perhaps, or something else. So I learned very quickly to, when you hear news that there's a monarch laying, or you think there might have been a monarch female laying her eggs, you get out there just as fast as you can and you look for the eggs so that this doesn't happen. Because I've heard different results, but it's at least 90% success inside and about 10% outside. Some people make it as little as 2% success outside. So with the dearth of monarch butterflies, 90% down in 3 years, the last 3 years, I want to do everything I can to keep this wonderful, wonderful migration that's so unusual in the world. Keep it happening. And another interesting phenomena is that the summer butterflies, the ones which get up northeast, like where I live in New Jersey, in about late June through the end of July, that's the first ones that come. This year it was toward the end of July. They're 28 days from egg to butterfly. Then in the next couple of days they mate, and she starts to lay her 700 to 1,400 eggs, one at a time, under milkweed leaves. That's a big job. She comes back a few days to do this job. And with that kind of a lifespan, they don't live very long after they do their reproduction cycle. So there's 2 separate cycles. Now how that all happens is amazing. The fall cycle, they live about 5 months. They don't mate up here. They fly all the way to Mexico, arriving about the 1st of November, and then they mate and leave to Mexico in about the end of February, beginning of March, and got as far as Texas, so we get about the 2nd or 3rd generation up here. So it's quite a fascinating cycle, and still very mysterious, even though lots of scientists are studying all of these things. So in life, you always ask, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And in this case, the flying monarch and the female which lays the egg, or the egg itself. So we're starting with this monarch, so you know that's what we're moving toward when we raise them. So here we have a boy monarch, distinguishable by 2 little dots. on the bottom part of the shorter wing. And the female does not have those, but the lines are a little bit more dark, a little more defined. And so this is our mating couple, possibly. And then we will go to the egg. And here we have some eggs. This is September 2nd. So we have this interesting situation of having the very end of the egg-laying season. Well, let me find one here. This is an egg. It's the size of a grain of sand. And if you have to believe that that big monarch is coming out of this teeny weeny little thing in about 2.5 weeks. It's quite astounding, really, this whole thing. So here we have another egg. This one is a little whiter. I hope you can see it. It's not easy to see. So what you have to first do when you're going to do this project is go and look under every milkweed leaf out in your yard or other people's yards and see, is there a little egg there? And I typically take the leaf. I have a story from the past where I had so little milkweed that I was very fussy, so I took my scissors and I cut a little piece out that had the egg in and bring it back and put it in a little container, plastic container. And then one night it was getting dark and I couldn't see to do all that cutting, so I went quickly around and put yarn over every single leaf that I found an egg on. And that was 35 eggs. Next morning when it was light, I went and looked and 30 of them were gone. It shows you how important it is to get out there right away when you know that there's been some egg laying and try to get those eggs as quick as you can, because we have a much greater success rate inside than outside. Some people put it at 90% success inside and 10% outside, and some people say 98% success inside and 2% outside. In any case, that's why it seems worthwhile when we do have a good year like we had this year, after 3 dismal years where we had practically nothing, that we spend some time, we humans spend some time to try to keep this wonderful migration going. And that's my point here. So here we have different stages of saving. This is an egg on a milkweed. Someplace in one of these egg things we have, this is not an egg. This is a caterpillar about 4 days old. And so when I go out and find eggs, if I find quite a few, which is the case here, but this is the kind of I put them in a plastic container, different sizes, whatever I've been able to scrounge around or recycle. So when I go out and find eggs, if I find quite a few, which is the case here, August 26th, I put them in a plastic container. One of the first days, second day different of sizes, September, whatever I've been able to scrounge around or recycle. So there's been some births. This was when you pick your egg August 26th. You don't know exactly one of the first when that egg was laid. Second day so of it could be September. Later. So we can see what's happened here. There's a little one. There's a mid-sized one. So there's been some births. There's a little bit bigger one. Of course, when you pick your egg up, you don't know exactly when that egg was laid. So it could be sooner or later.
Here's a small one.
Can you see here? Okay. There's a little one. There's a mid-sized one. There's a little bit bigger one. They're all little. Here's a small one, probably 2 days old. Another one, probably 3 days old. And another one, probably 5 days old. They don't have an inside skeleton. The outside shell, the outside coat is their skeleton. It's an exoskeleton. And when they eat and grow fat, they can't grow anymore without shedding that old skin. So they sit and they stop waiting. They stop eating and they wait until that old skin shrivels up and falls off, and they crawl out of it and often eat it because it's good protein. So shows what a group of caterpillars can do to a leaf. Gets pretty messy looking. And here's another one over here. And then you can see some of the leaves turn pretty messy. These were all picked the same day, and this one's even bigger. He's probably a week old. So you can do this kind of trick the first week. You can leave them in a container like this, or you can put them in a dish where you have some water at the bottom and put all little roots in the bottom of the water. You don't want to get your leaf itself all wet and rotty. But here we have a whole little stack of more caterpillars. So at about this stage, oh, here's a really weeny one. And at about this stage, though, I can put these on a bouquet. Like right here is the bouquet. And you can see some here's one on the outside of the leaf. And they're on the inside of the leaf, right here. And I keep them a bit segregated from their great big ones that are now maybe an inch or two. I'm afraid that by accident or on purpose, I don't know if they will eat the little ones on purpose, but I feel with the big ones are so big that they can be munching away and just grab one of these little eggs or little caterpillars real easily. So we move from the littler ones to this next stage. It's not often that you see 3 just lined up like that. And you can see the damage that they do as they eat away on all these leaves. So I keep this up here a little bit away from the next stage because I'm not sure who eats who here, if any. And here we have the big ones. This is toward the last stage before they become a chrysalis. And this baby right here is not such a baby anymore. He's pretty big. Look at that, came out of that egg the size of a grain of sand. Look at that big one. Tonight or tomorrow, he'll be crawling up the wall here or crawling around exploring someplace else. Perhaps down here on the mantle, perhaps on this here. And one of them actually made his chrysalis in here. Inside this. I wonder how it's going to get out, but it's made its chrysalis here. So they explore, and it's quite a bouquet we have here of caterpillars. I hope you can see them. They're quite amazing. And every day when they're this size, I have to keep feeding and feeding and feeding. You see what they've done to this bouquet. There's hardly anything left. And so we have this process. I think that this is the really exciting part when you see this. There are 2 on the wall, and there's some up on the ceiling, spinning a kind of little web for themselves to hang on. And then they'll hang down like a jay for a day, and then they'll wait for another day, and then they'll turn into this chrysalis, and then they'll wait for like 8 to 12 days before they come out as a flying butterfly. And that's it. And in my house here, they will fly to my windows. They want the light. They want to get out of here. They just want to get out. Now you'll see these 3 others on the wall, or is that an old case? That might be an old coat there, right there. But these are 2 live caterpillars right there, small and little. What they're doing, exploring around at this stage, when they just have to come back for some more food, I don't know. But they do usually come back when they do this. Sometimes I rescue them and take them down and put them on a leaf myself. But I have to use a ladder for that, so I don't do that all the time. Besides letting them crawl freely up the wall and going to my ceiling, I also like to give them away to people. I take them to fairs, I take them to the county seat, I take them to my office here in Montclair and give it to the tax assessor who loves this sort of thing, because I think our public servants need some cheering up sometimes. And so I give them to anybody who might want them so that they can have the experience of both them going into a chrysalis and coming out again as butterflies. And it means so much to people. So I give them away when they're at this big stage so that I can give them enough milkweed to make sure they have enough. Because if I give them a little guy, he'll need so much milkweed. He needs a whole tree of milkweed practically. So here we have one just about finished eating. He's ready to go about. And so I'll put them down here for a minute, and I'll show you the other thing everybody doing this has to know about. It's called poop. Small poop for little ones and big poop for the others. And here's my poop dish when I clean out my container. And this is an old dried up leaf. I don't need that anymore. This looks like it's quite enough for this caterpillar before he reaches the top. What he'll do now, he'll crawl up to the top and he will spin a web. Now in this case, this has already happened. Here he is as a chrysalis, and I think I don't know if you can possibly see the camera. There's such a gossamer, type of thing here. It's hard to see in one's own eyes, but here is a chrysalis. Look at that gold around it. I keep thinking that must be how they got the name Monarch, because it looks so regal and royal. I wanted to show you, this is another method. This is an old piece of a cloth, a net cloth that I just put on with a rubber band because I was running out of my lids. I found more containers than lids. And this at the bottom has an old piece of the leaf and the poop at the bottom. And it can wait until this comes out as a butterfly before I clean that all up. And here we have the chrysalis on a lid with this gossamer, very net that they weave. It comes from under the caterpillar's mouth, and they weave this little net, and then they hang on it. They hang like a jay for a day, and then the great moment of this chrysalis forming inside the coat. The last time, the fifth instar, the fifth time this happens. Behind the neck, behind the head, the coat splits, and out comes this funny little dancing sort of thing without any eyes that looks so strange. Dancing, it's wiggling around. You think it's going to fall off, and it's trying to get that old coat off and have it wiggle up to the top and then hopefully fall off. Most of the time it does fall off. Sometimes it stays up there, and that's okay too. And then it waits, and this mysterious action happenings where a caterpillar is turning into a butterfly inside this chrysalis, or inside of a cocoon, like some butterflies do and some moths do. So either way, this change is happening inside, this mysterious change, after which they can fly. And the excitement for me has always been, both when I was writing my book, which is about this transformation, and also in real life, is that when you look at a caterpillar, it's almost impossible to believe or to imagine that there's a winged flying creature inside that then can take the pollen from one flower to another and be a major pollinator for our world. And that's one of the important things about it. They're not just beautiful, they are essential for the earth to survive, because if you don't have bees and butterflies and other pollinating insects, at least 1/3 of our food supply is gone and done for. Corn is pollinated by the wind, but fruit trees and others are pollinated by insects and these beautiful creatures. So I wanted to show you one last thing as we try to tidy up here a bit. When it gets too yucky, when the leaves get too yucky, I put them here. And then, in case we've missed an egg or a little baby, we keep looking at them. We don't throw them away right away. And I have a young man who's a friend who's from the place of the, oh, look what I'm finding right here, a big one, to my surprise. He's from Michoacan, where the butterflies go, and his eyes are so much better than mine, so he almost always finds something. Now I find them too when I look, like where this fellow came from is beyond me, but he's here, so he'll now not be in the trash container. So those are the important things. Oh, when two people work with me, I have this little stool for people to sit on, and here is, I've gone out and cut some more milkweed to make more bouquets for tonight and put up there with the eating caterpillars. And here we have the famous milkweed pods. So at the beginning of September, they're like this. They're not yet exploded. They're the ones that have the wonderful stuff that flies out every place. But milkweed doesn't grow easily from seed. So when people really want milkweed, I typically give them starts from my own plants that are, the roots are down under the ground, and I give it to them. So I think this might be the process to encourage you to do so. Oh, perhaps one more thing I should show you. This little common thing works also. And here we have a chrysalis and an old chrysalis from the time before. So it's just, it's like a little something. And oh, I'm going to do this while we're here. Oh, I have to be careful I don't pull this one's up, but you can see the little silk that was woven with this chrysalis. It's quite an amazing feat. I prefer this size because they're a little longer, because it's important when the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis that its wings are able to hang all the way down, and that they, if the thing is too short, maybe the wings are bent while they're wet, and if they dry in that condition, then it can't fly. So I prefer these long ones, and so trash cans are a very useful thing for me to find, and so, but I keep giving them away, so I don't have them always. And that's how I did this. You can also do this in lots of other ways. You can do it in an apartment style. You could do the whole thing in here and let a bunch of them make their chrysalids here. Or you could do it in another place, and a tent that I'll show you. Here's another way of raising them that I found useful. This is a tent that usually is vertical, in which they can fly easier. But here, I can basically do the whole thing and even go away for a while without worrying about it too much if I have enough food for the caterpillars. You can see there's a lot of caterpillars here eating away. And I have a piece of plastic down at the bottom so that all the gook and things won't bother them. Here are some caterpillars eating away, having stripped some of this pretty strongly. And here's one where they're actually eating the milkweed pods. They could go over here and eat the leaves, but they haven't. They've chosen to stay on the milkweed pods. Go figure. And so I have here some buddleia, it's a butterfly plant, but this dear butterfly, which this is her third day right now, she wants to get out, and we're going to let her out at the end. But she has not drunk that I've been able to see. But this is a wonderful way to see the jay. This is after they've gone up and climbed up here on the side of this and woven their little pad around. They hang like a jay for a day. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jays. So we're going to have quite a few. And we have one born caterpillar, one born butterfly right over there, whose wing just bothered that jay a little bit. So we're ready now to take her and bring her outside. And the way I typically do it, if I'm just releasing it from my house here, I put her in my own hands, just like a little, like this, and walk her out the door and make a wish. But if I carry it someplace, I carry it in this handy little tent that opens up like this and unzips, and I just go in and, oh, what are you doing? Don't bother that jay. Okay, come on, baby. I think you're a girl. Let's see if I can see for sure. I think you're a girl. Now, I don't know if this girl is going to lay eggs, mate and lay eggs up here anymore. This is a transition time. It's a little late for the summer species, and it's a little long. It's a little early for her to be out. She's supposed to be born after the middle of the month, so I don't know about that. So we're going to take her outside now and let her out. So we're outside of my house, right at the neighbor's roses here, and we're going to release our butterfly here. See if she wants to come on my finger. She doesn't have a mouth, so she can't bite me. And the caterpillars don't bite anyhow, so. Hello there. You just want to get out, but you're going the wrong way. Come on. Come on. Oh, you're going the wrong way. Oh, come on. Come on, honey. Well, there we are. Now you make a wish. You make a wish. Now she's not on the nectar flower there. Roses aren't a nectar flower. But look at her. There she is. Oh, aren't you glad to be free? Aren't you glad to find something? See, where will you go next? Ah, that's the kind that you can drink. That's a nectar flower. Oh, you're having your first drink. Oh, you're thirsty, aren't you? There, she's right there. And she does have her proboscis in the flower. That's the best butterfly release I've ever seen that hung around and actually has gone now. And you can see her drinking. You can see the whole process. Usually they're so eager to get going that they're up in the tree and away, before you can imagine. It's really exciting. And there she is, still drinking. Oh, she must be so thirsty. This is her third day of life. Usually I let them go on the second day. Oh, bless your heart. Now whether she's going to mate and lay eggs here on the 2nd of September, 3rd of September, I don't know. Or whether she's going to go to Mexico in this transition time, I don't know. But here's some milkweed. This is a very good place to see some milkweed. This is my neighbor's yard, and here's a little milkweed. And here's another milkweed. It loves some of these edgy places like this. It's hard to imagine how it's growing. So when there's eggs around, I come out and I look under these milkweeds. I don't really anticipate seeing an egg anymore, but I used to find them all over the place. And here's another big milkweed. I'm pointing all these out because I want people to know what they look like so they could let a few of them grow. See, they don't look bad. They're mixed up with all the flowers and they look pretty nice, actually. And so there's some over here. And our butterfly's still drinking. Oh, she's so thirsty. You can see these little baby ones, and they often have eggs on them. But it's just getting late in the year for any eggs. I might have found my last eggs, or maybe not. With climate change, you never can tell quite. And this is one of their favorite flowers, the buddleia, the butterfly bush. But it can be invasive in warmer weathers. So you can see there's a lot of milkweed here. Milkweed all over here, here, here. And I'm hoping the new owner will enjoy having milkweed in the yard. He seems to. He and his wife and his little baby have one that they're raising in one of the containers I gave them. So he's feeling rather fond of the monarchs right now. So let's see. Our girl is still drinking. Yes, she's still drinking. Oh my, she was thirsty. Oh my. But you didn't drink inside your house, did you? And I had those in there for you. That was oh, isn't that beautiful to see? Oh, this is such a beautiful thing to see. Usually they fly away into the sky so fast, but she was very, very thirsty on her third day of life. And she's letting me get so close, and she doesn't care a whit about me. Thank you so for watching, and may you grow milkweed, and may you help this beautiful species continue to live. And don't cut that milkweed down, and don't use pesticides, and don't use genetically engineered stuff that will, all of it will kill these guys. Thank you.